Welcome back to Informative Zone, where we break down complex health topics into clear, honest information you can actually use. Let me ask you something important. If you're over 60, how confident are you that your daily breakfast routine is truly safe for your heart, your immune system, and your long-term health? Because for many seniors, one simple habit feels harmless, but can quietly become dangerous over time. This is a story of Robert, and his story could easily be yours. Robert was 68 years old when his morning ritual almost became his last. For more than 30 years, he started every single day the exact same way. 3 scrambled eggs, cooked just the way he liked them, served with toast and a cup of coffee. He believed he was doing everything right. Eggs were protein. Protein meant strength. Strength meant independence. He stayed active, took his medications exactly as prescribed, and trusted that eggs were the perfect food for staying strong in his golden years. But one quiet morning, everything changed. As Robert stood in his kitchen waiting for his eggs to finish cooking, a crushing pain spread across his chest. His legs weakened. He collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. Paramedics rushed him to the emergency room, where doctors discovered something shocking. His cholesterol levels were dangerously high, and several of his arteries were severely blocked. When the doctors asked detailed questions about his diet, the truth came out. Those daily eggs, combined with several critical mistakes Robert didn't even realize he was making, had been silently damaging his cardiovascular system for decades. Today, we're going to talk about those mistakes. Specifically, the 10 egg mistakes that seniors make every single day. Mistakes that could be putting your health at serious risk without obvious warning signs. We've ranked these mistakes from concerning to potentially life-threatening. And during the research for this video, one thing became very clear. Mistake number 4 has been scientifically linked to more than doubling the risk of heart disease. Mistake number 7 involves a bacterial threat that hospitalizes thousands of seniors every year. And the number 1 mistake is so common that many people watching right now are probably making it without even realizing it. Here's the good news. You don't have to give up eggs completely. Eggs are not evil. When prepared correctly and eaten in moderation, they can still be part of a healthy diet for seniors. The real problem isn't the egg itself. The danger comes from how eggs are handled, cooked, stored, and combined with other foods as we age. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which mistakes to avoid, how to fix them, and most importantly, how to protect yourself and your loved ones from the hidden dangers lurking in something as simple as a breakfast egg. Stay with me until the end, because I'll also share a simple checklist that could literally save your life. Let's begin with mistake number 10, washing eggs before storing them. This one surprises almost everyone. Many seniors bring eggs home from the grocery store and immediately wash them, thinking they're being extra careful and hygienic. It feels like the responsible thing to do. But what most people don't know is that eggs naturally have a thin protective coating on the shell called the bloom, also known as a cuticle. This coating seals the tiny pores in the shell and helps prevent bacteria from entering the egg. When you wash eggs before storing them, especially under running water, you remove that protective layer. Once the bloom is gone, bacteria such as salmonella can more easily penetrate the shell and contaminate the egg inside. This is especially dangerous for seniors. As we age, our immune systems naturally become weaker and less responsive. That means bacteria your body once handled without much trouble can now cause serious illness. In the United States, store-bought eggs are already washed and sanitized before they ever reach the shelves. That's why they're required to be refrigerated. Washing them again at home doesn't make them safer. It actually increases the risk of contamination. If you buy eggs from a local farm or farmer's market, those eggs may still have the bloom intact. In that case, washing them before storage is even more dangerous. The safest approach is simple. Store eggs unwashed in their original carton in the coldest part of your refrigerator, not the door. If an egg looks dirty, rinse it briefly under cool water only right before you crack it. Mistake number 9 is storing eggs in the refrigerator door. That built-in egg holder may seem convenient, but it's one of the worst places to keep eggs, especially for seniors. The refrigerator door is the warmest part of the fridge because it's exposed to room temperature air every time it's opened. Those frequent temperature changes cause condensation to form on the eggshell, creating an ideal environment for bacterial growth. Over time, these fluctuations also reduce the egg shelf life. There's another issue many people overlook. Every time the door opens and closes, eggs stored there are subjected to constant movement and vibration. This can cause tiny cracks in the shell that are invisible to the naked eye. Those microscopic cracks allow bacteria to enter the egg more easily. For maximum safety, eggs should be stored in their original carton on a middle or lower shelf toward the back of the refrigerator, where temperatures stay most consistent, typically between 33 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The carton provides cushioning and also prevents eggs from absorbing strong odors from other foods. This simple change can significantly reduce your risk of foodborne illness. Mistake number 8 is eating eggs with runny yolks. This is where things get controversial, because many people love sunny side-up eggs or soft-boiled eggs with creamy center. But for seniors, undercooked eggs pose a serious health risk. Raw or partially cooked eggs can contain salmonella bacteria. While anyone can get sick from salmonella, adults over 65 are far more likely to experience severe complications. A younger person might deal with a few miserable days of stomach trouble. A senior, however, can end up hospitalized with dehydration, high fever, and dangerous electrolyte imbalances. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, salmonella causes about 1.35 million infections in the United States each year. Seniors account for a disproportionate number of hospitalizations and deaths related to these infections. The safest approach is to cook eggs until both the whites and yolks are fully firm. The internal temperature should reach 160 degrees Fahrenheit to effectively kill harmful bacteria. If you enjoy foods that traditionally contain raw eggs, such as homemade mayonnaise or certain salad dressings, use pasteurized eggs instead. They're specifically treated to eliminate bacteria while remaining safe to eat. Mistake number 7 is leaving cooked eggs at room temperature for too long. This happens more often than people realize, especially during holiday breakfasts, brunches, or family gatherings. Cooked eggs and egg-based dishes should not be left out at room temperature for more than 2 hours. When eggs sit in what's known as a danger zone, between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, bacteria can multiply rapidly. In fact, bacterial populations can double every 20 minutes under these conditions. That means an egg casserole sitting out for 3 hours could contain millions of bacteria by the time someone goes back for seconds. For seniors, the consequences can be severe. Symptoms of foodborne illness include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and fever. These symptoms can quickly lead to dehydration, which is especially dangerous if you're taking medications for heart disease, diabetes, or high blood pressure. Dehydration can interfere with how those medications work and increase the risk of complications. The solution requires discipline. Refrigerate cooked eggs and egg dishes within 2 hours of cooking, or within 1 hour the room temperature is above 90 degrees. If you're serving eggs at a gathering, keep hot dishes above 140 degrees using warming trays or chafing dishes. Mistake number 6 is ignoring expiration dates. This may seem obvious, but many seniors eat eggs well past their expiration date, trusting their senses to tell them if something is wrong. This is a risky habit. As we age, our sense of smell often diminishes. That means spoiled eggs may not smell bad to you, even when they're no longer safe to eat. Egg cartons typically display a sell-by date or an expiration date. When properly refrigerated, eggs are generally safe for 3 to 5 weeks after purchase. However, once that date passes, the risk of bacterial contamination increases. There's a simple safety test many people use. Place the egg in a bowl of water. Fresh eggs sink and lie flat on their side. Eggs that stand upright are older, but may still be safe if used soon. If an egg floats, it should be thrown away immediately. For seniors who live alone or don't use eggs often, buying smaller cartons is a smart choice. Always inspect cartons or cracked shells before purchasing, and never use eggs with visible cracks. We'll pause here. In the next part, we'll move into the top 5 egg mistakes, including the one proven to dramatically increase heart disease risk, medication interactions most seniors never consider, and the number 1 belief about eggs that quietly undermines healthy aging. Let's continue with mistake number 5. cooking eggs in too much butter or oil. This is where lifelong habits can quietly turn a healthy intention into a serious health concern. Many seniors grew up during a time when butter was considered wholesome and cooking generously with it was normal. Those habits can be hard to break. But as our bodies age, the way we process fats and cholesterol changes. Cooking eggs in large amounts of butter or oil adds a heavy dose of saturated fat to food that already contains cholesterol. For seniors with high cholesterol, heart disease, or a family history of cardiovascular problems, this combination can significantly increase risk. One large egg contains about 186 milligrams of cholesterol, all of it in the yolk. When you cook that egg in 2 tablespoons of butter, you add roughly 31 more milligrams of cholesterol and about 7 grams of saturated fat. The American Heart Association recommends limiting saturated fat to around 13 grams per day for someone eating 2,000 calories. That means a buttery egg breakfast alone can use up more than half of your daily saturated fat allowance before you've even added toast, cheese, or meat. Over time, this pattern contributes to plaque buildup in the arteries, reduced blood flow, and increased strain on the heart. There are safer ways to prepare eggs without sacrificing flavor. Using a non-stick pan with a light spray of oil greatly reduces added fat. Cooking eggs in a small amount of olive oil is another option, as olive oil contains heart-healthy monounsaturated fats. Boiling or poaching eggs requires no added fat at all. If you enjoy the taste of butter, using a very small amount as a finishing touch rather than cooking the eggs directly in it can help limit saturated fat intake while still providing flavor. Mistake number 4 is eating too many eggs per week. This is a mistake that research has shown can more than double the risk of heart disease, especially in older adults. For years, advice about egg consumption has been confusing and inconsistent. Some messages claimed eggs were harmless, while others warned against them entirely. Recent large-scale studies have helped clarify the picture, particularly for seniors. One major study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association followed more than 29,000 adults for an average of 17 years. The researchers found that each additional half egg consumed per day was associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular disease and a higher risk of death from any cause. Another large study published in 2021 examined data from over 500,000 adults and found that people who consumed more than 1 egg per day had a significantly higher risk of heart disease and stroke. This risk was even more pronounced in adults over 65. In some cases, daily egg consumption was associated with more than double the risk compared to people who ate eggs less frequently. One of the key issues involves cholesterol and a compound called TMAO. Egg yolks are rich in choline, which gut bacteria convert into trimethylamine, then into trimethylamine N-oxide or TMAO. Elevated TMAO levels have been strongly associated with increased risk of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular death. For seniors who already have age-related arterial changes, high blood pressure, diabetes, or a history of heart disease, this added risk can be especially dangerous. Most cardiologists now recommend that seniors limit whole egg consumption to about 3 or 4 eggs per week. This allows you to enjoy eggs without excessive exposure to cholesterol and TMAO-related risks. For those who want eggs more often, egg whites are a safer alternative. Egg whites contain high-quality protein, without cholesterol, and can be used in place of whole eggs in many recipes. 2 egg whites can often replace 1 whole egg with similar texture and protein content. Mistake number 3 is not considering medication interactions. This is one of the least discussed but most important egg-related issues for seniors. Many medications commonly prescribed to older adults can interact with nutrients found in eggs, reducing effectiveness or increasing side effects. Statins are a prime example. These cholesterol-lowering medications are among the most frequently prescribed drugs for seniors. If you're taking a statin and regularly consuming high-cholesterol foods like egg yolks, you may be undermining the medication's intended effect. While dietary cholesterol doesn't impact blood cholesterol as dramatically as once believed, it still matters, particularly when combined with other sources. Blood thinners present another concern. Egg yolks contain vitamin K, which plays a role in blood clotting. If you're taking warfarin or similar medications, sudden changes in your egg consumption can affect how well your medication works. The key issue isn't necessarily avoiding eggs entirely, but maintaining consistent intake. Large fluctuations in vitamin K consumption can interfere with medication stability. There's also an interaction involving certain antibiotics. Eggs contain calcium, and calcium can interfere with the absorption of antibiotics in the tetracycline family and some fluoroquinolones. If you're prescribed these medications, consuming eggs too close to your dose may reduce the medication's effectiveness. Seniors often take multiple prescriptions, which makes these interactions even more important to consider. The safest approach is to discuss your diet with your healthcare provider whenever you're prescribed a new medication, and ask specifically about potential food interactions. Mistake number 2 is combining eggs with other high-risk foods. This is where many seniors unknowingly create a perfect storm for cardiovascular problems. Eggs alone are not usually the issue. The problem is what they're commonly eaten with. The traditional breakfast of eggs, bacon or sausage, buttered toast, and hash browns delivers a heavy load of saturated fat, cholesterol, sodium, and refined carbohydrates all at once. For seniors with existing heart disease, diabetes, or high blood pressure, this type of meal can trigger dangerous spikes in blood sugar, blood pressure, and inflammation. Consider the numbers. 2 eggs paired with bacon, buttered toast, and hash browns can contain more than 800 milligrams of cholesterol, around 30 grams of saturated fat, and 1,500 milligrams of sodium. That's more cholesterol than recommended over several days, more than double the daily saturated fat limit, and a large portion of the daily sodium allowance in a single meal. High sodium intake is particularly concerning for seniors because it raises blood pressure and increases strain on the heart. Processed meats like bacon and sausage add another layer of risk. They contain nitrites and nitrates that have been classified as probable carcinogens and are linked to increased risk of colorectal cancer, a disease seniors are already more vulnerable to. A healthier approach is to rethink the entire plate. Eggs paired with vegetables like spinach, tomatoes, or peppers create a very different nutritional impact. Whole grain toast without butter or fresh fruit on the side adds fiber and antioxidants. Replacing processed meats with foods like avocado or small portions of fish changes the meal from inflammatory to supportive of heart health. Finally, we arrive at mistake number 1, believing eggs alone are enough protein. This is the most common and most damaging misconception among seniors. Many older adults believe that because eggs contain protein, eating them daily covers their protein needs. This belief often leads to a lack of variety in the diet and missed opportunities for essential nutrients that eggs simply cannot provide. While eggs do contain high-quality protein, about 6 grams per large egg, relying on them as your primary protein source creates multiple problems. It increases exposure to cholesterol-related risks and crowds out other important protein sources. Different proteins offer different benefits. Fish provides omega-3 fatty acids that support heart and brain health. Legumes provide fiber, which eggs lack entirely. Nuts and seeds offer vitamin E and beneficial fats. Poultry provides different B vitamins in varying amounts. When eggs dominate the protein portion of the diet, these nutrients are often missing. There's also growing evidence about how protein should be distributed throughout the day for seniors. Muscle loss, known as sarcopenia, accelerates after age 60. To maintain muscle mass, seniors need roughly 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each meal. 2 eggs at breakfast provide only about 12 grams, which is not enough to optimally stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Seniors also require more total protein than younger adults, roughly 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. Trying to meet that requirement with eggs alone would require consuming an unsafe number of eggs daily, which would be devastating for heart health. The solution is protein diversity. Eggs can be part of a healthy rotation, but they should not be the foundation. Including fish, legumes, lean poultry, dairy, nuts, and seeds throughout the week provides complete nutrition while minimizing risk. This balanced approach supports muscle maintenance, heart health, and overall longevity. So let's bring everything together. We've covered the 10 egg mistakes that can quietly put senior health at risk, rank from concerning to potentially life-threatening. Avoid runny yolks. Store eggs properly. Respect expiration dates. Limit whole egg consumption. Be mindful of cooking fats, food combinations, and medication interactions. Most importantly, Don't rely on eggs as your sole protein source. Remember Robert from the beginning of this video. After his heart attack, his doctors didn't tell him to give up eggs forever. They helped him change how he ate them. He cut back to 3 eggs per week, always fully cooked, paired with vegetables instead of processed meats. He diversified his protein sources and focused on heart-supportive foods. 2 years later, his cholesterol levels are under control, and he feels stronger and healthier than he has in decades. You have that same power. The choices you make today shape your health tomorrow. This is Informative Zone, and our goal is to give you knowledge that protects your independence and quality of life. If this video helped you see eggs differently, make sure to like and subscribe for more senior-focused health guidance. And tell us in the comments, which of these mistakes were you making without realizing it? Before we close this out, I want to slow things down and make sure everything truly sinks in, because information only protects you if it's understood and remembered. The danger with egg mistakes is not that they cause immediate pain or obvious symptoms. The real threat is that most of them work silently, building risk day after day, year after year, until one morning something finally goes wrong. That's why so many seniors are caught off guard. They believe they've been eating sensibly their whole lives, yet the damage has been quietly accumulating in the background. Think again about how ordinary Robert's routine was. Nothing about it seemed extreme. He wasn't overeating fast food. He wasn't skipping his medications. He wasn't reckless. He was simply repeating the same small egg-related mistakes over decades. That's what makes this topic so important for older adults. At this stage of life, small habits matter more than ever. Your body has less margin for error. Your arteries are naturally stiffer. Your immune system responds more slowly. Your kidneys, liver, and digestive system do not bounce back the way they once did. What you could tolerate at 40 or 50 may become dangerous at 60 or 70. One of the biggest misunderstandings among seniors is the idea that I've always eaten this way and I'm fine. That statement feels comforting, but it ignores how aging changes the body. Cholesterol doesn't clog arteries overnight. Bacterial exposure doesn't always cause immediate illness. Medication interactions don't always produce instant side effects. These risks compound slowly. Eggs themselves are not the villain, but when they are eaten too often, prepared improperly, or combined poorly, they become part of a much larger problem. Let's talk briefly about mindset, because this is where lasting change happens. The goal is not fear. The goal is awareness. Fear causes people to overreact or give up foods entirely, which can create nutritional gaps and unnecessary stress. Awareness allows you to make smarter choices without feeling deprived. You don't need to eliminate eggs. You need to respect them. You need to treat them like what they are for seniors, a food that requires moderation, proper handling, and thoughtful pairing. This is where a simple mental checklist becomes powerful. Every time eggs enter your kitchen, ask yourself a few questions. Were these eggs stored properly at the store, and will I store them properly at home? Am I cooking them fully without runny yolks? Am I using minimal added fat? How many eggs have I already eaten this week? What medications am I currently taking? And what else is on my plate with these eggs? These questions take seconds to consider, but they can prevent years of damage. Another point that deserves attention is how egg habits often reflect deeper patterns. Seniors who eat eggs daily often do so out of convenience. Eggs are quick. Eggs are familiar. Eggs feel safe. But relying on convenience foods, even nutritious ones, can lead to dietary monotony. Monotony is the enemy of balanced nutrition. The human body thrives on variety. Different foods nourish different systems. When variety disappears, deficiencies quietly creep in, muscle mass declines, inflammation rises, and recovery slows. Protein variety is especially critical after 60. This cannot be emphasized enough. Muscle loss is not just about strength. It affects balance, mobility, metabolism, and even immune function. Seniors who lose muscle are more likely to fall, more likely to become insulin resistant, and more likely to lose independence. Eggs alone cannot prevent this. They simply do not provide enough protein per serving, nor do they deliver the full range of nutrients needed to protect aging muscles. There's also a social aspect to consider. Many seniors eat the same breakfast alone every morning without much thought. This routine can become deeply ingrained. Changing it may feel uncomfortable at first, but even small adjustments can have meaningful impact. Adding vegetables to eggs, swapping whole eggs for egg whites a few days a week, replacing processed breakfast meats with healthier sides. These are not dramatic changes. They are realistic, sustainable shifts that respect both health and habit. Another important reminder is that seniors are not all the same. One person may tolerate eggs better than another based on genetics, gut health, medication use, and existing conditions. This is why blanket advice is dangerous. What matters is understanding your personal risk profile. If you have high cholesterol, heart disease, diabetes, or a history of stroke, egg mistakes carry more weight. If you are on blood thinners or cholesterol medications, consistency and moderation become even more critical. This is also why communication with healthcare providers matters. Many seniors hesitate to talk about diet during doctor visits, assuming medications matter more. In reality, diet and medication work together. A doctor can only help optimize treatment if they understand what you're eating regularly. Eggs may seem too ordinary to mention, but as you've learned today, they are anything but insignificant. Now let's return to Robert one last time, because his outcome is the most important part of this story. After his heart attack, he felt frightened, frustrated, and confused. He believed he had failed his health. But over time, he realized something empowering. He wasn't broken. He wasn't careless. He was simply uninformed. Once he understood how small egg mistakes had contributed to his condition, he was able to make changes without feeling punished. He didn't give up foods he loved. He learned how to eat them differently. That is the real message of this video. Knowledge is not about restriction. It's about control. Control over your choices. Control over your risk. Control over how you age. Every meal is an opportunity to support your heart, your muscles, your brain, and your independence. Eggs can still be part of that picture, but only when they're handled with care and intention. As we bring this episode to a close, remember why Informative Zone exists. Our mission is not to scare you or overwhelm you. It's to give you clear, honest information that helps you live longer and live better. Aging does not mean surrendering control. It means using wisdom, experience, and knowledge to protect what matters most. If this video changed the way you think about eggs, even a little, then it has done its job. Take what you've learned today and apply it starting with your very next meal. Share this information with someone you care about, because chances are they're making at least one of these mistakes too. And let us know in the comments which habit surprised you the most. Your experience could help someone else avoid a serious health scare. This is Informative Zone, and we'll continue bringing you practical, life-saving health guidance designed specifically for seniors. Stay informed, stay empowered, and take care of yourself. Before you move on with your day, I want you to pause for a moment and really reflect on what this information means for you personally. Health advice often feels abstract until it connects directly to daily life. Eggs are not an occasional food for most seniors. They are a routine, a habit, something many people eat without thinking, sometimes every single morning for decades. That is why egg mistakes matter more than mistakes made with foods you only eat once in a while. Frequency magnifies impact. One of the reasons egg-related risks are so often underestimated is because eggs don't cause immediate discomfort. You don't feel your cholesterol rising. You don't feel bacteria multiplying. You don't feel arteries slowly narrowing. The body adapts and compensates for a long time, especially when damage is gradual. Unfortunately, by the time symptoms appear, the underlying problem is often advanced. This is exactly what happened to Robert. He didn't feel unhealthy. He felt normal right up until the moment he collapsed. Another factor many seniors overlook is cumulative exposure. One egg mistake on its own may not cause serious harm, but multiple mistakes combined over years create a dangerous pattern. Washing eggs removes protection. Storing them in the door exposes them to temperature changes. Eating runny yolks increases bacterial risk. Cooking them in butter adds saturated fat. Eating them daily raises cholesterol exposure. Pairing them with processed meats increases inflammation and sodium intake. Relying on them as your main protein source limits nutritional diversity. Each mistake adds another layer of stress to the body. Together, they form a perfect storm. This is why focusing on just one change is not enough. Real protection comes from addressing the pattern as a whole. You don't need perfection. You need awareness and consistency. Even correcting half of these mistakes can significantly reduce risk. Health improvement is not all or nothing. It's cumulative, just like damage is. Let's also talk about food safety from a senior-specific perspective. As we age, our stomach acid levels often decrease. Stomach acid plays a crucial role in killing bacteria before it reaches the intestines. Lower acid levels mean bacteria from undercooked or improperly stored eggs have a better chance of surviving and causing illness. This is one of the reasons food poisoning hits seniors harder and lasts longer. It's not weakness. It's biology. Dehydration is another hidden danger. Food-borne illness from eggs often leads to vomiting or diarrhea. For seniors, even mild dehydration can cause dizziness, confusion, kidney strain, and dangerous drops in blood pressure. If you're taking medications such as diuretics, blood pressure drugs, or diabetes medications, dehydration can become life-threatening much faster than you might expect. What starts as an upset stomach can escalate quickly. Heart health deserves special attention because it is where egg mistakes do the most silent damage. Cholesterol does not act alone. Inflammation, oxidative stress, and blood vessel stiffness all interact with cholesterol levels. High cholesterol from frequent egg consumption becomes more dangerous when combined with high sodium, saturated fat, lack of fiber, and low physical activity. This is why eggs eaten with vegetables have a different impact than eggs eaten with bacon and white toast. Context matters. Fiber is one nutrient completely absent from eggs, yet it plays a critical role in heart health. Fiber helps remove excess cholesterol from the body, stabilizes blood sugar, and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Seniors who rely heavily on eggs often consume too little fiber, which further increases cardiovascular risk. This is another reason protein diversity and balanced meals are essential. Gut health itself is a growing area of concern for aging adults. The gut microbiome changes with age, and those changes influence how foods like eggs are metabolized. The conversion of choline into TMAO is driven by gut bacteria. An unhealthy microbiome can amplify this process, increasing cardiovascular risk. Diets low in fiber and high in animal products tend to promote bacteria that produce more TMAO. Again, eggs are not the sole culprit, but they contribute when eaten in excess within an imbalanced diet. Mental habits around food also deserve attention. Many seniors eat eggs out of nostalgia. Eggs represent comfort, simplicity, and familiarity. There is nothing wrong with that. But nostalgia should not override evidence. Healthy aging often requires updating old beliefs. What was considered healthy 50 years ago is not always appropriate today, especially with longer lifespans and better understanding of chronic disease. This is not about blame. No one failed by eating eggs the way they were taught. Nutrition science evolves. What matters is what you do with the information you have now. Making adjustments is not an admission of past mistakes. It is a commitment to future health. Let's talk briefly about portion awareness, because it's another subtle issue. Many seniors underestimate how many eggs they actually eat in a week. Eggs appear in breakfast, but also in baking, casseroles, sandwiches, and salads. An egg here and an egg there adds up quickly. Keeping a rough mental count can help you stay within safer limits without feeling restricted. Another overlooked detail is yolk size. Modern eggs are often larger than eggs from decades ago. Larger yolks mean more cholesterol and more choline per egg. Advice from the past may no longer match the nutritional reality of today's food supply. This is one more reason moderation matters now more than ever. It's also worth mentioning that appetite changes with age. Some seniors eat fewer meals and rely heavily on breakfast for nutrition. This makes breakfast choices even more important. If eggs dominate that meal without sufficient vegetables, fiber, and variety, nutritional gaps can form quickly. A well-constructed breakfast should support energy, muscle, and heart health all at once. Education is powerful, but action is what protects you. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Start with one change. Store eggs correctly. Cook them fully. Reduce frequency. Add vegetables. Rotate protein sources. Small steps taken consistently, create lasting protection. As you think about the information shared in this video, ask yourself one honest question. If nothing changes, where will your current habits lead you in 5 or 10 years? That question is not meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. Because the future is not fixed. It is shaped by daily choices. This is why Informative Zone focuses on prevention. Emergency care saves lives, but prevention preserves quality of life. Avoiding a heart attack is not just about survival. It's about avoiding disability, dependence, and loss of independence. Food choices play a larger role in that outcome than most people realize. In the next segment, we will slow everything down even further and walk through how a senior-friendly approach to eggs actually looks in real life, without extremes, without fear, and without confusion. Let's make this practical, because understanding risk is only useful if you know what safe behavior actually looks like in everyday life. A senior-friendly approach to eggs is not complicated, but it does require intention. It means moving away from automatic habits and toward conscious choices. Instead of asking, do I eat eggs or not, the better question becomes, how do eggs fit into my overall health picture right now? A realistic approach starts with frequency. Eggs should be an occasional protein, not a daily anchor. For most seniors, 3 to 4 whole eggs per week is a reasonable upper limit, especially if there are heart disease risk factors present. This does not mean 3 or 4 breakfasts with eggs automatically. It means counting total whole eggs across all meals. If you enjoy eggs at breakfast twice a week, that leaves room for eggs used in other dishes without exceeding safer limits. Awareness alone can dramatically change outcomes. Next comes preparation. Fully cooked eggs are non-negotiable for seniors. That means firm whites and firm yolks every time. Soft yolks may taste appealing, but the risk is not worth it. Seniors simply do not have the immune resilience to gamble with undercooked animal products. Cooking eggs thoroughly is not a loss. It is a trade-off that favors safety over momentary preference. Then there is a question of fat. Eggs do not need to swim in butter to taste good. Flavor comes from technique, seasoning, and pairing, not from excess saturated fat. Using non-stick cookware, minimal oil, or healthier fats like olive oil changes the nutritional impact of the same food. Over time, these small differences significantly affect cholesterol levels and arterial health. Storage matters more than people think. Eggs should be treated like a perishable, sensitive food, not a countertop staple. Keeping them in their original carton, away from temperature fluctuations, reduces bacterial risk. This is especially important for seniors who may keep groceries longer and shop less frequently. Proper storage is one of the simplest ways to prevent illness. Pairing is another critical factor. Eggs should never be evaluated in isolation. What you eat with them matters just as much. Pairing eggs with vegetables, whole grains, or fruit changes digestion, slows cholesterol absorption, and reduces inflammation. Pairing eggs with processed meats, refined carbohydrates, and excess sodium does the opposite. This is not about perfection. It is about pattern recognition. There is also room for compromise. Seniors who truly love eggs can use egg whites more often. Egg whites provide protein without cholesterol and can be mixed with one whole egg to reduce overall exposure while maintaining taste and texture. This approach allows enjoyment without excess. Another practical step is rotating proteins intentionally. Planning meals so that eggs are not the default protein reduces reliance without requiring constant decision-making. Fish twice a week, legumes on certain days, poultry on others. When rotation becomes routine, diversity happens naturally. It is also important to address emotional resistance. Many seniors feel defensive when long-held habits are questioned. Food is deeply personal. It connects to identity, culture, and memory. Feeling attached to eggs does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are human. The goal is not to erase that attachment, but to update it with new understanding. One useful mental shift is this. Instead of seeing dietary change as giving something up, see it as adding protection. Every adjustment you make is a form of self-care. You are not losing eggs. You are gaining years, strength, and independence. Another factor worth discussing is fatigue. Many seniors feel tired and assume they need more protein from eggs. In reality, fatigue is often caused by inflammation, poor circulation, dehydration, or blood sugar swings. Excess eggs, especially when paired with refined carbohydrates and saturated fat, can worsen these issues rather than fix them. Energy comes from balance, not from doubling down on one food. Hydration also plays a role. Eggs are dense and filling, but they do not contribute fluid. Seniors who eat heavy, dry breakfast may unintentionally drink less water, increasing dehydration risk. Pairing meals with adequate fluids supports digestion and medication absorption. Medication timing deserves another mention here. Seniors often take morning medications with breakfast. If eggs interfere with absorption or interact with certain drugs, this timing becomes important. Spacing medications appropriately and being consistent with food intake helps maintain stability. There is also a financial aspect to consider. Eggs are often seen as a budget-friendly protein, which is why many seniors rely on them. But affordable alternatives exist. Beans, lentils, canned fish, and yogurt can provide high-quality nutrition at low cost. Relying exclusively on eggs is not necessary for affordability. Let's talk about warning signs, because prevention also includes awareness of subtle changes. If you experience unexplained fatigue, digestive upset after egg-heavy meals, rising cholesterol despite medication, or frequent stomach illness, these could be signals that egg habits need reevaluation. Listening to your body is part of healthy aging. Social influence matters too. Seniors often eat what their peers eat. If friends normalize heavy egg breakfasts or dismiss concerns, it can be harder to change. But leadership matters. Making healthier choices can influence others quietly and positively. Sharing information without judgment can protect more than just yourself. This brings us back to why this conversation matters. Seniors are often given fragmented advice. One doctor talks about cholesterol. Another talks about protein. Another focuses on medication. Rarely does anyone connect the dots. This video exists to connect those dots. Eggs sit at the intersection of food safety, heart health, medication interaction, and aging physiology. That makes them far more impactful than most people realize. Treating them casually is no longer appropriate after 60. Treating them thoughtfully is empowering. As you continue reflecting on this information, remember that health is not about being perfect. It is about reducing unnecessary risk. You cannot control everything, but you can control what you put on your plate. In the next portion, we will focus on reinforcing everything you've learned by revisiting the key lessons in a way that makes them easy to remember and apply long-term. So this knowledge does not fade after the video ends. Let's lock this in, because information that fades is information that fails. The goal now is not to overwhelm you with more details, but to reinforce what truly matters, so these lessons stay with you long after this video ends. Healthy aging depends far more on consistency than intensity. You don't need extreme rules. You need reliable habits that quietly protect you every day. At the center of everything we've discussed is one simple truth. Eggs are powerful, and anything powerful must be handled with respect, especially as the body ages. For seniors, eggs are no longer a neutral food you can eat on autopilot. They require awareness. That awareness is what separates healthy longevity from preventable decline. When you think about eggs moving forward, don't think in terms of fear. Think in terms of strategy. Strategy means you know when to use something, how often to use it, and when to step back. Eggs still have a place, but they are no longer the foundation. They are one piece of a much larger picture. Let's reinforce the most critical ideas in a way your brain can easily recall. First, safety always comes before preference. Fully cooked eggs, proper storage, and respecting time limits are not negotiable for seniors. These steps protect you from food-borne illness that your body is no longer equipped to fight easily. Second, moderation protects your heart. Limiting whole eggs to a few per week dramatically reduces cholesterol exposure and lowers cardiovascular risk. This is not a punishment. It is a protective boundary that allows enjoyment without long-term harm. Third, context matters. Eggs eaten with vegetables and fiber behave very differently in the body than eggs eaten with processed meats and refined carbohydrates. The plate matters as much as the food, for variety is essential. No single food, including eggs, can meet all your nutritional needs. Relying too heavily on one protein source creates imbalance, no matter how healthy that food seems on its own. Fifth, aging changes the rules. What worked at 40 does not always work at 60 or 70. This is not failure. It is adaptation. Adapting is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. That if you remember nothing else, remember this. Health problems rarely come from one bad choice. They come from thousands of small, unexamined habits repeated over time. Eggs become dangerous only when they're eaten without thought, without limits, and without balance. This is why so many seniors feel blindsided by heart attacks, strokes, or sudden illness. They did not feel reckless. They felt routine. Routine can be comforting, but it can also hide risk. Awareness breaks that cycle. You may be wondering why no one explained this sooner. The truth is that nutrition advice is often simplified for convenience, not accuracy. Eggs are labeled as healthy or unhealthy without context. Seniors deserve better than oversimplified advice. You deserve nuance, clarity, and respect for your lived experience. That is what Informative Zone is committed to providing. Not trends, not fear, not extremes. Just clear, evidence-based guidance that respects the realities of aging. As you move forward, don't try to remember every detail. Remember the principle. Eggs are safe when handled correctly, eaten occasionally, and paired wisely. Eggs are risky when eaten daily, cooked carelessly, and combined poorly. This knowledge gives you leverage. It allows you to enjoy food without anxiety and without regret. It allows you to protect your heart, your immune system, and your independence without giving up pleasure. Before we end, take a moment to think about one small change you are willing to make starting tomorrow. Not 10 changes, just one. That is how real transformation begins. One decision repeated consistently. If this video helped you understand eggs in a new way, share it with someone you care about. Many seniors are making these mistakes right now without knowing it. Your decision to pass this information along could genuinely protect someone's life. Thank you for spending this time with Informative Zone. Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay in control of your health. As we reach this final stretch, it's important to understand why repeating these ideas in different ways matters. Aging brains, just like aging bodies, benefit from reinforcement. The goal is not to lecture, but to anchor understanding so it becomes instinctive. When something becomes instinctive, you don't have to think hard about it. You simply act in ways that protect you. One of the most dangerous myths in senior nutrition is the belief that familiar foods are automatically safe. Familiarity feels like security, but biology doesn't recognize tradition. Your arteries do not care how long you've eaten a certain way. Your immune system does not reward consistency if that consistency includes hidden risk. The body responds to chemistry, not comfort. Eggs sit in a unique position because they are both nutrient-dense and risk-dense. That combination is rare. Most foods are either clearly harmful or clearly beneficial when eaten in moderation. Eggs exist in the gray area, especially after 60. That gray area is where mistakes happen, because gray areas invite assumptions. Another reason egg mistakes are so common is because they are reinforced socially. Friends talk about protein. Advertisements praise eggs as a perfect food. Old habits are passed down without question. Rarely does anyone say, this advice changes when you get older. Yet it does. And ignoring that shift is one of the biggest mistakes seniors make across all areas of health, not just nutrition. It's also worth acknowledging that many seniors feel overwhelmed by conflicting advice. One day eggs are praised. The next day they're criticized. This leads to frustration and eventually disengagement. People stop paying attention altogether. That reaction is understandable, but it's also dangerous. The solution is not to ignore information, but to focus on what is consistent and relevant to your age group. What is consistent is this. Seniors have higher vulnerability to foodborne illness. Seniors have higher cardiovascular risk. Seniors take more medications. Seniors experience muscle loss and metabolic changes. Eggs intersect with all of these realities. That is why they deserve special attention. Another subtle point is portion perception. A single egg looks small. It doesn't feel indulgent, but its impact is not about size. It's about concentration. Cholesterol, choline, and saturated fat are concentrated in egg yolks. When consumed repeatedly, that concentration matters. This is especially true when the rest of the diet lacks fiber and antioxidants to counterbalance those effects. Let's talk briefly about guilt, because it often creeps into health conversations. Guilt is not useful. Feeling bad about past habits does nothing to improve future outcomes. The body responds to what you do next, not what you did before. Seniors sometimes feel regret when they learn new information, thinking they should have known better. That mindset is unfair and counterproductive. Health knowledge evolves. What matters is not whether you ate eggs daily for 30 years. What matters is whether you continue doing so after learning the risks. Change is always forward-facing. Every healthy meal from this point on counts more than everything that came before it. There is also a deeper emotional layer to food choices in older age. Eating the same breakfast every day can be a form of stability in a world that feels increasingly unpredictable. Health changes, social circles shrink, routines shift. Food becomes an anchor. Challenging that anchor can feel threatening. Recognizing this emotional role allows you to approach change with compassion instead of resistance. You don't have to erase the anchor. You can adjust it. Stability does not require rigidity. It requires intention. A slightly different breakfast can still be comforting. It can still feel like home. It can also be safer. One practical approach many seniors find helpful is reframing eggs as an ingredient rather than a centerpiece. When eggs are one component among vegetables, grains, or other proteins, their impact changes. This shift reduces overconsumption without creating a sense of loss. Another helpful strategy is planning rather than reacting. When meals are planned, eggs don't become a default out of convenience. They become a choice. Planning protects against mindless repetition. It's also important to recognize that healthy eating is not about willpower. It's about environment, how food is stored, what is visible, what is convenient, and what is habitual all-shape behavior. Small environmental changes, like storing eggs in the back of the refrigerator and keeping vegetables more accessible, subtly influence choices without effort. As this video comes to an end, the most important takeaway is this: you are not powerless. Aging does not strip you of control. It simply changes the rules. Learning the rules allows you to keep playing the game with confidence. Eggs are not your enemy. Ignorance is. Now that you have clarity, you have choice. And choice is the foundation of health. This has been Informative Zone. We're honored to be part of your journey towards safer, stronger, more informed aging at this stage. The focus shifts from understanding to application. Knowledge only becomes valuable when it changes daily behavior. Seniors often consume health information but struggle to turn it into action because the advice feels abstract. Let's make it concrete, realistic, and doable. Think of your weekly routine. Most people over 60 eat the same breakfast 5 to 7 days a week. That means breakfast alone can shape nearly half of your weekly cholesterol intake. This is why eggs matter so much. They are rarely eaten occasionally. They are eaten repeatedly. Repetition magnifies impact. A powerful rule to remember is this: frequency matters more than quantity. One egg eaten once in a while is very different from one egg eaten every morning. The body adapts to occasional exposure. It accumulates damage from daily exposure. Seniors often underestimate this difference because the change feels small. Biologically, it is not. Another overlooked factor is digestion speed. As we age, digestion slows. Foods stay in the stomach and intestines longer. This increases the time cholesterol and fats interact with the bloodstream. What passed quickly through your system at 40 may linger much longer at 70. Eggs, being dense and rich, are affected strongly by this shift. Medication interaction is another silent issue. Many seniors take blood pressure drugs, cholesterol-lowering medications, or diabetes treatments. Eggs can interfere indirectly by increasing lipid load or altering bowel metabolism. Doctors rarely warn patients about food-medication interactions unless asked. That responsibility often falls on you. Let's also address protein needs honestly. Yes, seniors need protein to prevent muscle loss. But protein does not equal eggs. This is one of the most misleading simplifications in nutrition. Protein exists in many forms, and some are far gentler on aging bodies. Rotating protein sources reduces stress on the liver and kidneys while still supporting muscle maintenance. Another misconception is that removing or reducing eggs automatically leads to weakness. This fear keeps many seniors stuck in habits that no longer serve them. Strength does not come from one food. It comes from adequacy, balance, and absorption. If your body cannot efficiently process a food, its nutrients do not translate into strength. Absorption itself changes with age. The stomach produces less acid. Enzymes decline. Foods that are easy to digest become more valuable than foods that are simply nutrient-dense on paper. Eggs fall somewhere in between. They are not the easiest to digest for everyone, especially when eaten alone or in large amounts. Social habits also influence food choices more than most people realize. If your spouse or friend group eats eggs daily, changing your own pattern can feel isolating. Food is social. It connects people. But protecting your health sometimes means quietly choosing differently without making a conflict. One effective approach is substitution rather than elimination. Instead of eggs every morning, try alternating days. Instead of 2 eggs, try 1 combined with something else. These adjustments reduce risk without triggering resistance or resentment. Let's talk about warning signs, because your body often signals distress long before serious disease appears. Feeling heavy after meals, frequent indigestion, unexplained fatigue, rising cholesterol numbers, or increased inflammation markers can all be subtle indicators that your diet no longer matches your physiology. Eggs can contribute to these patterns when consumed too frequently. It's also important to understand that aging is not linear. Some weeks you may tolerate certain foods better than others. Stress, sleep, hydration, and activity levels all influence digestion and metabolism. This variability means rigid rules are less useful than attentive listening to your body. Listening does not mean guessing. It means observing patterns. How do you feel an hour after eating eggs? How about the next morning? Do you feel energized or sluggish? Seniors often dismiss these signals as just aging. Sometimes they are dietary responses. Another empowering realization is that food choices are reversible. If something is not working, you can change it tomorrow. There is no long-term commitment required. This flexibility removes pressure and makes experimentation safer and more approachable. As we prepare to conclude this entire script, remember that the purpose was never to demonize eggs. It was to restore awareness. Awareness gives you control. Control gives you peace. You are not required to follow trends, defend your choices, or justify your habits to anyone. Your body is the final authority. Respecting its changing needs is one of the most intelligent things you can do at this stage of life. The most important thing to understand is that healthy aging is not about perfection. It is about awareness, adjustment, and respect for how your body changes over time. You don't need extreme diets. You don't need to fear food. You need clarity, and now you have it. Eggs are a perfect example of why age-specific nutrition matters. They are not automatically good or bad. They are conditional. For seniors, the condition is moderation, preparation, and frequency. When those 3 are respected, eggs can still be enjoyed. When they are ignored, eggs quietly become a problem. Many people over 60 believe serious health issues appear suddenly. In reality, they are usually the result of years of small, repeated habits that went unquestioned. Daily choices feel harmless because their effects are delayed. This delay creates a false sense of safety. Education breaks that illusion. What you eat today does not harm you tomorrow. It shapes you months and years from now. That is why awareness is so powerful. It allows you to change direction before damage becomes visible. If there is one mindset shift to take away from this video, let it be this. Your body deserves updated rules as it ages. Living by outdated habits is not loyalty. It is neglect. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to eat differently than you did at 40. You are allowed to question advice you follow for decades. None of that means you were wrong before. It means you are wiser now. Small changes truly matter. 1 less egg per week. 1 more day of variety. 1 more moment of awareness. These decisions compound. Over time, they protect your heart, your digestion, your energy, and your independence. And independence is the real goal. Not just living longer, but living stronger, clearer, and with fewer limitations. If this video challenged something you've always believed, that's a good sign. Growth begins where comfort ends. Share this information with someone you care about, especially someone over 60 who may still be following habits that no longer serve them. Thank you for trusting Informative Zone as part of your health journey. Stay informed, stay adaptable, and always stay in control of your choices.